measure of any society is how it treats its women and girls. It's women and girls. We create the smart, powerful, creative, accomplished young women. We can fight. I'm here because of you. I'm here because girls like you inspire me.
Buckle up, buttercups. It's another episode of Surly Voices here on WMNF Tampa 88.5. I'm your host, Liz. My co-host across from me, Donna. Say hi, Donna.
Hi, Donna.
And our co-host, Maria, is joining us from the land of Zoom. How are you, Maria?
I'm great. How are you?
I'm here. Not enough coffee on board yet, but hopefully by the end of the show, I will have recovered from that. So, lots going on. We have a special guest today, Danielle Whitmore, and we'll get to her in a second. Maria, what's on your mind first thing early this morning?
Oh, what can I say about this roller coaster called life or the stock market, right?
We're all going to have to work until we drop dead because the stock market's going to just fold in upon itself. And
I think that we were already on schedule to work till our fingers fall off, but I just kind of think that it's fascinating. Right? Like I cannot imagine. Well, I can. It's, the American people clearly will love drama and chaos in their life.
Yes.
So this is where we are.
And boy, do we have a boatload of it. Jeez. And so lots to think. Donna sent out a dissertation last night, and I'm like, I'm not still awake at 1 o'clock to be reading all this. But
I don't think Donna sleeps.
I don't think so either. But she can tell us for sure. Donna, do you ever sleep, or do your brain is churning 24/7 and you can't turn it off?
I sleep, generally speaking, and I always have sleep very little. I sleep more as I age, but, I thought something was wrong with me and I was going to die early because until I heard Oprah say that she sleeps 3 to 4 hours a night.
Wow.
And some people are just like, if remember some people in the hospital were like anaerobes?
Yes.
You would look at their oxygen saturation levels and they would be pink. They call them pink puffers.
Yeah.
And they would be just nicely perfused, pleasant,
lovely flush,
not struggling, not anxious. And we call those people anaerobes. They're like, you're living without oxygen. And I just think that humans, there's so much variation in Homo sapiens sapiens. And so I just don't need a lot of sleep. I mean, if I am tired, like yesterday I walked 10,000 steps, I need probably 5 hours of sleep. I slept 5 hours and 15 minutes.
Wow.
Yep.
Okay. So what's on the agenda today, Miss Davis?
Okay, a lot of stuff. And I am going to get right to it. So, you guys, we've had a lot of stuff happening. We're going to start with, we're going to land in Tampa Bay, but we're going to start with, because our guest, Danielle, is from St. Louis. And I will tell you a little bit about Danielle, and then Danielle can tell us more about what she wants to know about us. Now, I met Danielle several years ago when I was working on a campaign in St. Louis. And I was staying in a place that was probably not safe. And she came by and she says, hey, why don't you, I've got some space and you can come and, hang out with me.
Oh,
and so,
that's nice.
That's how I met Danielle. And wouldn't you know, the way it always happens is she landed in St. Pete several years later.
Oh, okay.
And she has 20 years. Hold on for 1 second. I think I'm in the wrong place. Let me go back over here. In the meantime, there was a race. Okay, here it is. Danielle is a visionary leader with decades of experience in legislative policy and a deep commitment to driving regional transformation. To driving social change. She is a respected community partner known for creating sustainable reforms through impactful campaigns, strategic communication, stakeholder engagement, and cross-sector collaboration. Hard to do in these times. With a strong background in education reform, policy referendums, and regional transformation, Danielle has successfully developed and launched programs for mission-driven foundations and organizations focused on education, workforce development, and regional priorities. A proven game changer, Danielle is passionate about transformational leadership, innovation, and excellence. She brings extensive executive and leadership experience in public policy, education, technology, and nonprofit development. In addition to her professional accomplishments, Danielle is a published author and freelance writer, with work featured in articles, websites, and blogs worldwide. She has been a federal appointee to the U.S. Commission on Civil Rights for Missouri, a gubernatorial appointee for Missouri's Women's Council, a gubernatorial appointee for the Missouri Board of Education, for the gubernatorial appointee for the St. Louis Board of Education, board member for Brown Bag Tech, and Health and Environmental Justice, and also the Missouri Coalition for School Choice. Now, currently, and this is what you guys want to hear about, are going to hear about today, Danielle serves as Chief Executive Officer at C-Vested. That is an acronym, C-Vested, V-E-S-T-E-D, Tampa Bay's first social entrepreneurial accelerator, set to launch in May 2025. That's 1 month away, and which is what brings us here today. She's going to tell us about what that is. You may not at first blush understand what that is, but that's why she's here. We're also going to talk about the St. Louis mayor's race that happened yesterday. Tashara Jones lost in a landslide to Kara Spencer, the developer darling that is going to hand St. Louis back to the developers. This is not special to St. Louis. There's something for Tampa Bay denizens to learn about this because it is busted out all over. Now, the other things we got on deck this morning is the market manipulation. The tariff reversals are affecting your retirement in ways that no one's talking about. And I'm gonna give you a tip from a certified financial advisor, because I am not. Because I slid to the left yesterday as soon as that thing came back. Lenny, you're not gonna make me a victim of your mood swings, sir.
Right.
Tampa mayoral rumblings. Buckhorn versus Carlson. Anyone? Who makes the first move there? Democracy under fire, the $1 million price tag that DeSantis is proposing to speak up, which is one of our mottos, in Florida as lawmakers target citizens' initiatives with Senate Bill 7016, you heard it here, and HB 1205. That would make you put up a $1 million bond if you wanted to collect petition signatures to place an amendment on the Florida state ballot.
That is outrageous.
And these are the things, before we get into it here, because it's 10:15 already. Wow. These are the things that we don't hear about until they are about to be done. We're talking about what's happening in D.C., and this is why local politics is so important. Because this handicaps our ability to make change at the state and local levels, right? So, and we saw we're victims of gerrymandering. A4 got thrown out of the window. Tampa had a 0.5 sales tax. I actually worked on that. And we don't have any of those things. We don't have resources. So when we talk a little bit in a few minutes about what happened in St. Louis, the erosion of industry, the erosion of the middle class, the remaining folks who are living in poverty and the masters they serve, and why St. Louis is stuck in what we call the doom loop in city planning, and how that could happen to us here in Tampa Bay. Because when you start trying to determine who gets to stay, who gets to go, who gets the resources, who doesn't get resources, and who doesn't get resources, and stopping our education system from performing its bounden duties, which is to educate young people and prepare them for gainful life. In America, our education systems are eroding. I want to talk to you a little bit later about why I think, you guys are free to disagree, our number for that.
813-239-9663. Or you can email to dj@wmnf.org.
I wanted to cover one more thing. I wanted to cover, because there's been some coverage on WMNF already, and we don't like to duplicate because we realize that our listeners are like a crop of people, right? I wanted to cover the biggest loser in Florida politics, but I'll give this to you guys, let you go read it, and then we'll have a guest next week that can help us talk about this from a standpoint of being informed and intelligent, because we don't want to level accusations at a Florida consultant, but it did make it to the New York Times. Ooh. And this individual from Key Lime Strategies, Jackson McMillan, turned up again in the biggest loser in Florida politics again. So they're total, and the Florida Phoenix. So there were 3 articles last week. And when something like that happens locally in the political realm, I feel that we need to cover it, right? Because it's tea time. But we're going to push that one forward, and because we've got enough on our plate this week. So we're going to start with Danielle. Thank you for coming, Danielle.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. I'm excited about this conversation, and just let's get into it. So, let's get into it. Let me first say this. As much as I hate admitting this at times, I'm old enough where I came from a community that was extremely tight-knit. I came from a community where, we had the appropriate housing. I came from a community where our police actually lived in our neighborhoods. Our teachers lived in our neighborhoods. I remember that time so well. It was a beautiful time, and I was blessed to grow up in the communities that resembled that. I also, though, remember in the 80s, particularly in St. Louis, when, the drug scene became, unbearable. I also remember watching establishments continue to invest in itself and not invest into neighborhoods. I watched in horror as that continued to be our story. And before you knew it, not only did we have white flight out of St. Louis, but we had black flight. And as black flight continued, it raped the city of anyone, of course, who had the resources to invest in the city, to pay the taxes, all of that good stuff. If you go to St. Louis today, and Donna has been there, it's scary. It's like a scene off of a movie where the world is ended, because you literally have that many blocks of empty lots, of dilapidated buildings. All of this is in existence. And it's been this way now for, I'm going to say at least 30 years, somewhere in that this decline has been going on. We had a mayor, Francis Slay, who actually, administration lasts for 16 years. 16 years. That 16-year period, our education system, for instance, was $50 million in the hole. I know this because I sat on the State Board of Education, and I was in awe of how do you get to a place where you're running your business $50 million in a deficit? How is that acceptable? And you're taking state and federal dollars in order to do this. And I will never forget the day they came before me with this, idea as I'm sitting on the board that we should continue to fund this, right? And I asked them, why are you $50 million in a deficit? And their CFO at the time was kind enough to explain to me that the white flight, the black flight, all of these things, of course, lessen the population in St. Louis. So that lessening of population meant we can't accommodate all the same school buildings that we've been administrating, right? Okay, well, then we should be shifting, right? We should be shifting and changing. But he said we did not do that. Then came the emergence in St. Louis. You have to know it's a black and white city. Unlike Tampa Bay area, we do not have the mix of a lot of different cultures who have settled there. So it's just mainly black and white. So that being the case, we had a big suit that happened. And this history is important. I'm going to lead into the mayor's race in a minute, but I feel that I really need to give you this history so you can truly understand what she was up against. So we had this voluntary school district program where black families could apply to go out to the white districts in order for them to get a better education. Imagine that. So now you got, people getting they're out there filling out those applications like hotcakes. Like, let me get out of here because we know they have more resources out there. They have, more opportunities. And I want my kid to get out of here so they can get a better education. So that was the next flight that took place. This is the CFO explaining this to me. And then, of course, and I had a lot to do with this, the next emergence was charter schools. That was the next thing that we passed a charter school law back in the early 90s in Missouri for St. Louis and Kansas City only, which allowed us, of course, to build another portfolio of schools, which was, again, parents like, I'm out of here. Like, I can't keep subjecting my kids to, this challenge. Well, here we are. Fast forward, that's been 15, 20 years ago now that I was a part of all of this challenge, and nothing has happened. Nothing. The public school systems are still operating in the same way. They're still failing. There's still an academic gap. This is the story across the country. In every urban core, it's the same story over and over again. And sadly, and this might get me in a lot of trouble, but that's okay. Donna knows I will tell the truth. The new portfolio of schools that we've created in terms of charters, and we've given, we have voucher programs. I think, here in Florida, we have that as well. The oversight has definitely not met the mark. There's not a standard there that really speaks to, hey, the level of excellence that we were hoping were going to happen in that regard, right? So now you got a situation where industry has left because they're leaving. You don't have an educated populace. Why are we staying here?
Right.
You're going to have nothing but crime and poverty. Yep. And that's the case in St. Louis, and that's the case in a lot of urban core, right? Why are we staying here? I can't even get into my office because I'm getting knocked upside of the head, right? I'm just like, no, I'm not doing this. So anybody who could get out, got out. And
Can I ask a question?
Yeah, sure.
So we are seeing this around the country, and it's happening in Baltimore, Maryland. It's happened in Birmingham, Alabama. It's happened in Jacksonville, Florida. Jacksonville has been trying to, that's my hometown. And so I can tell you, I know its history. It's been trying to develop since I was a child. It's never been able to get, the downtown is in the doom loop, can't get it to go. Education is in a steep decline. And it's just not, they can't make it happen. It's because they want it to happen for a certain part of the population and not others. And what I've noticed, the part of the pattern that I've noticed, Danielle, is when you try to stop certain segments of the population from being enhanced by development, it has the opposite of the intended effect.
Yes. So, I can't give you what Jacksonville's answer is.
Same as St. Louis, but not the same degree. of
Yeah,
intensity. Mhm.
but here's what I will tell you. What I've always believed about, and Jeffrey Canada. If you don't know of his work, you should look it up. Up in New York, he has the answer. He and several others. If you look at the boys' school in Chicago, there's so many examples. But bottom line, we have to have a more holistic approach to this. You cannot think that a people can actually survive this continuous loss over and over again, right? I don't want to go all the way back there, but hell, let's go there. If you're talking about we started with slavery, we get through civil rights, you get through all of these various things, right? And then you still get your butt kicked with drugs and, then they take all the industry out and I can't get a job. But I'm expected to sit down, and these are our children that are literally stepping over bodies at night. I'm expected to sit down, shut up, and learn. That's not possible.
Right.
So what happened on Tuesday with Tashara?
So here's what happened to Tashara. Okay, she inherited that. Mm-hmm. Let's just start there. You give this woman 40, probably a good 30, 40 years of decay and neglect, not only from an educational system, but from an infrastructure, housing. In economics, it was a disaster. In fact, one of the things that she did, and I have to talk about Comptroller Darlene Green, because you got to understand, this woman has been at the helm, Darlene Green, for 30 years. She was our comptroller. She has went through 6 different administrations successfully, both Republican and Democrat mayors, and never had an issue until now. She was smart and understanding, because we have had an extreme amount of loss in terms of population in St. Louis. Like we were back in the 70s and 80s, where I'm giving you my grand story. We were, 500,000 plus, maybe up in the close to the million early 70s, right? Now we're like close to 200, 300,000 people left in St. Louis. That's huge.
And I read that you're losing 400 people a year.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. And they're not being replaced.
No.
That's the net loss every year.
Who wants to live there?
Right.
Well, I do. I went there last year, and I found the Forest Park, which by some estimations is larger than Central Park in New York. At the public works, the parks, the museums, the zoo. The museum looks like something you would see in Prague or France.
Yes.
Right? Paris.
Yes.
Marble statues, winged horses and friezes, with these carvings. And this city has good bones.
Yeah, from an architectural perspective, you cannot compare St. Louis to anyone.
Right.
Architecturally, the homes, the way the homes were built, all of that is extraordinary.
The red brick is legendary.
Yes, and you're right. Forest Park is only second to Central. You made that right determination. Our zoo is only second, I think, to San Francisco Zoo in California.
And the Botanical Garden, world class.
Yeah,
they have a Victorian garden, a Japanese garden, a Chinese garden, a geodome that's kept 70 degrees year round with orchids and palm trees in it.
Oh, okay.
It is an absolutely beautiful,
gorgeous
city, right? But everybody can't enjoy that beauty. So now these 2 women, and I do need to make a determination, these are 2 Black women who that were in office running the show. This is Darlene Green and Tashara. They see, if we don't do something about the fact that we economically are disadvantaged right now, we're going to have even more difficult. We're going to look like Detroit. Right. We won't be able to afford basic services, right? So St. Louis got lucky, and the Rams left. And we made them pay because we built this whole stadium. So she got huge dollars from that.
And let me ask you a question before just I didn't put this in there. Was she partially responsible for, and I only learned this when I was in St. Louis working last year, was she responsible for the $360 million public-private partnership between the city of St. Louis and the federal government Park Service to restore the Arch Park and the adjacent old courthouse where the Dred Scott decision was rendered?
I'm not sure if that came under her administration.
Okay.
I'm not sure about that.
Okay. It's impressive.
It was that has been in the works. I would say upward down at least 7 years, at least. Yeah. So because it's been they created a plan for it, and they've gone phase by phase to bring up that, and they now have a more elaborate plan. Is part of what created the situation that she ended up in terms of her loss this week. Because there are some developers who have an idea about what they want St. Louis Riverfront to look like. It wasn't moving fast enough for them. So, they put their money behind the candidate that they felt would agree with them. But now here's the challenge, though, and I hope you pay attention from here on. Watch this, because they were successful in keeping a AAA rating credit rating in the city of St. Louis because they kept those funds. And not that she wasn't making plans, and not that she has not had any development, because she's had plenty of infrastructure change and upgrade in both the entertainment districts in the midtown of the city as well as downtown St. Louis. It just wasn't moving at the rate that they felt that she should be moving at because she had all this money, as well as the ARPA funds. But I'm telling you, and this is just me talking, this is not, the mayor told me this. I'm just looking at all of the closed businesses, all of the empty lots, and I know how that has to be economically impacting the city and their ability to do business. Right. You and I cannot go buy a house if we don't have money and if we don't have credit. That doesn't change for the cities. If they don't have money, you have credit. Nobody is coming in and doing deals with you. They're not bringing their business to your city. None of that is happening.
And you can't give smart tax breaks to industry.
Exactly. So these women were smart enough not to spend those damn dollars on your little programs, and because here's the other thing that I speak freely about this issue too. When Black people get into leadership, particularly in situations like the Shara was in. And you have all of this, unfortunate history that has occurred with the Black community. The expectation is, Black woman, you're going to go in and you're going to fix this for us. And you're going to fix this for us immediately because you're us. You're for us. You're our mayor. Get in there and fix this and turn the tide in our direction. Well, she wasn't afraid of that. She definitely vocalized the fact that she knew that particular part of the town had been neglected, and she knew what needed to happen in order to get it turned around. However, she knew it wasn't something that she could do immediately. And it's one of the areas that she failed in. That she should have articulated that in a different kind of way so people can understand that.
So I want to turn to and you're going to stay with us. I want to turn to what you're doing here in Tampa Bay and the impact that you think C-Vested will. Is that how you say it?
Yeah, absolutely. You're absolutely correct. So what inspired me to create this accelerator, let me start there, is all the history I just shared. Okay. Right? Because what comes out of that, you have initiatives. Okay. Everybody needs some elected official to fix some kind of problem. And if you're all paying attention, that's a short-lived, quick fix to whatever the real crisis is, right? So C-Vested invites organizations, companies, whoever is doing the good work and concerned about whatever area, right? We're broad in the sense that we're not focused in any specific area, but we do want to focus on the region's highest priorities. We want to sit those people down in a room and you come up with a long-term solution. right? One is we can collectively all agree that this is the part of the solution that I want to administer and manage, right? And in addition to that, we have Venture Seeds Foundation, which is our research and data hub. We partner with universities who are, instead of putting out all these lovely reports about all of the disparities that are happening, they're researching our solutions. They're looking to make sure that we actually are having the level of impact that we intend. And then when we fall short, that's where we stop. And we're going to make adjustments. Yes, make adjustments to what we need to do so that we can succeed and create best practices that we can share throughout our region. So that's our intention in short. And I've been here 7 years in the region. I love this region. Obviously, from a nature perspective, is breathtaking to me. Not just the beaches, but I've had the pleasure now of walking through Florida's wildlife corridor and experiencing Florida from a perspective that, I didn't think of that. I think most people who come here, we are looking at those beaches and looking at that water and that's it. But no, there's so much more to see and feel and experience. But the other thing that I've seen here, there's a lot of money here. There's a lot, and the problem, if I'm gonna go back to St. Louis, and I shared this with Donna, the St. Louis is still being ran by old money. And anytime old money is still running a city, I can promise you it's falling, right?
Right.
What I see here in Tampa is a lot of new money being created, a lot of innovation that is happening, a lot of people not afraid to get out and do something different and create, a better economic foundation for their city and region.
So then
right?
I have a question. How can we connect people who are not? Specifically, we've got Black and Hispanic populations that are not benefiting from this boon, this technological boon, right? Like, how can we train and include, now, can you say that word anymore? How can you include populations that are living on the margins? Because it seems to me that in the zeitgeist of these times, the government, instead of, as we've seen some of in previous times, we've never quite mounted the war on poverty and bad education in a way that's transformed us to look like some maybe Northern European countries where you can see the equity. You can walk through the markets and you can see the equity. You can see that people that that wish to have opportunity and a decent job and decent place to live are able to do that. The jails look better than some of our affordable housing in some of these countries. How do we, what do we suggest to re-engage these populations, Danielle?
Danielle, before you say anything, I have to remind our listeners that they're listening to Surly Voices on WMNF Tampa 88.5. Our special guest today is Danielle Whitmore. All right, now tell us how to get these folks engaged.
Yeah. There's so many ways that it is challenging because you have so many avenues to get in if that's what you want. I know that years ago, there was a push. They called it P20, something you should probably look up. It's just an intentional pipeline where from preschool all the way to the workforce, we were intentional about putting certain strategies in place to make sure people could matriculate through those experiences with what they needed to understand. Just that, Donna, how they position themselves, where these resources were, making sure that they were accessible to, any and everyone who was interested in getting them. And I think it's somewhat still exists, but here in Tampa, there's a lot. Like, if I were to talk about just accelerators, which, I'm bringing another one, but the ones that are already in existence here in the region, about 3/4 of them, and there's about at least 15 that I know presently off the top of my head they're all focused on tech innovation. And they themselves are, unfortunately, stepping on each other's toes, because instead of, having a specific focus where they could, make it make more sense, right? Where I knew your innovation is, focused on just infrastructure, or, we do have one here. It's an Ocean Accelerator that's, of course, focused on blue tech. But they're the only ones that I could, point out and say, oh, okay, I understand exactly what you're doing. So I think the first thing that has to happen in Tampa, because this wealth, this boom that's happening is great, but there does need to be an organized way for people to be able to look at the pipeline of possibilities and say to themselves, okay, here's where I'd like to assert myself. This is where I want to go, because there's just, it's overwhelming. I've done my own research to develop this platform. I'm like, whoa, and every day I'm learning more and more and more. So I do think that we need to centralize the information. I do think that it needs to be disseminated, in places where people can actually, understand how to access it. Definitely, we need to make it accessible, meaning, if you really want an educated populace that can actually not only take advantage of these innovations, but be a part of them, then you got to make it where they can afford it, right? So, those are just the basic things that I can respond to without sounding like I got all the answers, because I don't.
Yeah, that's what we do. We respond like we have all the answers.
Yeah, we do. Yeah. We do that. Yeah.
I think that but one of the things that we do is we understand that our lens through which we see the world is not what everyone else sees. It's trash treasure, right? But we are usually, when we prognosticate, which is something that you can't do in the news, right? You just have to say what it is. We get to have the fun, because we get to say, this is happening, and here's what we think is going to happen next.
And then when we end up being right, we come back and say, we told you so.
Yes. But we often, it's because it's usually something that's not good. We always hope we're wrong. And when someone calls us up and says, you guys are wrong, we allow them, one, to have their say, and two, we say what our opinion is. And that's all we can do. This is what the beauty of a show like this is. We can say what we think, and it's not the declaration of all that is right with the world, but we do have fun pretending that it is. Now let's move on to some of our other topics. We've got about 20 more minutes. Danielle, I'd like for you to stay on and be our fourth jurist, as it were. And one of these days, I'm going to get my picture back on here because my computer died. I did all the stuff I do to prepare for the show. I did charge my computer. So
let me give the Surly disclaimer. The opinions expressed on Surly Voices are those of Surly Voices and not those of WMNF. If you want to join the conversation, give us a call, 813-239-9663, or you can email to dj@wmnf.org.
So, listen, there's a lot of stuff going on. I'm sorry, you guys. There's a lot of stuff going on out here. Okay, so many things are happening. This week, our president rolled back tariffs. Just all of a sudden, it's like, not for real. Caught you looking. Okay. Meanwhile, people like me included, sweating bullets, my little retirement fund that I'm trying to grow because I'm Gen X and we ain't got no retirement because, we've gigged. And we have done all of the things and all those side businesses, and some of us have driven Lyft and moonlighted, and we are fighting for our lives. And then, to see this guy wake up in the morning and you know what? He's like, I think I slept on my thumb. Tariffs for everyone. People play too much.
And you get a tariff, and everybody gets a tariff.
He plays entirely too much. And so... and then just to wake up one morning, and I was saying to Dr. Cole, and I want you to chime in on this. And Danielle, you're now one of us, so you just, you're on the panel. All right. I said to Dr. Cole yesterday, she was saying, this is like, we're doing the exclaiming thing, right? And I said, no, something terrible is going to happen because this isn't going to stop. There are people right now who are, unlike me, have massive fortunes that they're watching be whittled away.
Right.
Some people are 10 years out from retirement and they just got to that $1 million in cash savings point, and they now have $436,000, and they are hot, and they are blowing up the White House lines, and nobody is taking this lying down. The Republicans are starting to grumble that there's trouble in paradise. I just don't see how this continues. And then boom, while we were on the phone, tariffs rolled back. Dr. Cole, go. You out there?
Maria.
I'm here.
Yes.
I'm not sure what I'm supposed to comment on.
Comment on the chaos and the games people play.
I mean, I honestly, it's by design, right?
Yes, yes.
I think we woke up this morning to a series of reports on congressional insider trading, not to exclude insider trading accusations from the White House. So I think that the chaos is meant to distract. That's number one. And from a lot of very, very serious issues that are, I mean, it's all just, to me, it's just all very interesting. Earlier this morning, I read an article about how the two principles of this entire enterprise over the course of the last 60 years, meaning Charles Koch and Leonard Leo, are now wanting to use the courts to basically rein Trump in. They're the very Frankenstein that they built, that the rest of us have to be subjected to. So I think it's all very interesting. However, I don't think that we should take our eye off of like the fundamental destruction of our social fabric that is happening. Like, I don't even know how to or what to comment on, because the reality of it is if you look at what is happening in the stock market, the stock market it's a bet on the future. It's not based in reality of how people live, how people are impacted every day. We were talking earlier about housing and St. Louis, and that translates into almost every major city. Look, I look at West Palm Beach here, and the complete collapse of our social network in front of development and the unbridled development of West Palm Beach, right? While we have homelessness and schools in crisis and all this other stuff. The stock market is monopoly money, right? And it's a bet on our future. But we should, not that we have to, but we should be paying attention to the everyday real crisis that we are living in, and figure out ways in which we can address this in a very, very fundamental way, right? There are other models out there that I always talk about, like the donut economy, where we base the health of our economy on how our communities are thriving. If our communities are thriving, do people have enough, right? And that's not the model in which our news, our media, our policymakers operate.
Right.
You know, I toy with the idea of, if we drive this thing close enough to the brink and people can stare into the abyss, that it will force the hand of the billionaire class and the coming trillionaire class, because trust and believe, that's next, right?
Right.
And we got $1 trillion companies last year. We're going to move into $1 trillion fortunes here pretty quick. And that's unnecessary roughness for an individual that's only going to live 70 to 100 years.
Right.
If they make it, if they get a full lifespan. Doing too much. You're doing too much if you got $1 billion, $1 trillion, right? And I think in a more equitable society, I don't think we get to romanticize the rich when we have enough. Mm-hmm. Right? Because you can tell from all of our movies and our stories that Bridgerton, we romanticize the ton.
Yes.
Okay? But we don't get to romanticize them anymore because they're hurting us.
Yes.
And so this week, I flirted with the notion that while I was looking at my 401k monies and my stock market investments with one eye, but the other eye, I was like, maybe this is what we need to scare wealthy people, like the uprising in the streets, the defection of people who have been sycophants of Donald Trump, that if enough chaos happens in paradise, that people will start to think more globally and start talking about what equity looks like. Because you're doing two things at once. You're saying we can't talk about equity, diversity, and inclusion, but you're also saying that let them eat cake.
Yeah.
Right, which I don't know if she ever said it or not, but
I don't think
we
she
understand
did, no.
the sentiment that comes with that statement, okay?
Let's talk to Alvaro in New Mexico, driving. Hi.
Hello, thank you for taking my call.
Hey, buddy.
I'm from Tampa, but traveling to California by car.
Yeah, we know you.
All right.
Okay.
Thank you. Thank you for the program. It's one that is really close to me, really very dear to me. And I want to add just a tiny little piece.
Sure.
I'm still trying to understand the whole system and solutions for the whole thing, but one tiny little piece. I have a daughter, and she went through a school system, and I think successfully, and this is part of what we do. And I'm not saying it's a solution, a total solution, but just something. I think a big part of what is happening has to do with psychology, the psychology of things. It's not the part. It's not everything. Is one part. And I do support what Donna was saying about a scare, and I don't think it should be tactics, but the wealthy need to feel the menace in order for something to happen. But one thing that we did as parents of middle school students was we started to take our kids to all major universities. Just so we started with about 10 parents, mostly black. There were no Latinos at the school, except my daughter and a couple of others. And we started to take them to all major universities that we knew. We lived in New Jersey, so we took them to Harvard, Yale, Princeton, Brown, etc. And we took them first in the van, and then later on in a bus. In the 3 years that we did it, everybody was against us. Not barely the teachers or white, not the teachers, not the administrators, not the guidance counselors. Nobody was for us. We could not even distribute the leaflets, the flyers to invite kids to come on our trip. We couldn't do it. We had to do it all by word of mouth.
Okay, wrap it up for us, Alvaro.
Real quick, psychologically, the kids came out graduating with double degrees. My daughter came out a doctor, a neurologist. A lot of it has to do with the support, and we would tell the tutors, because we had tutors for all of them, even if they were doing good.
You got about 30 seconds.
Okay, we would tell the tutors, the kids are doing great. Do not look down on them. You got to give them you got to understand they're doing well. So promote their psychological setup. Anyway, that's all I have to say. Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Well, it sounded to me, Dr. Cole can't hear the call, and I'm assuming Danielle can't either. So let me say this. Alvaro was co-signing that, the billionaire class needs to feel some fear because they've sucked all the oxygen out of the room, and they should be afraid of people that are choking. And that he didn't get a lot of support when he took his daughters around to see Ivy League schools that just wasn't the support, the network of people to help the process along wasn't there. And basically he was just traveling around with his daughters and taking them to schools, but nobody back here in the States, the
state of new
that's great.
New Australia, Florida.
Right, believed that we probably should go back to being France or Spain. Believed that this was a possibility, and so just speaking to the moment of we're not preparing kids anymore. And I want to bring this up because when we pre-gamed this morning, I talked about this with Danielle, and I said that the notion, what I'm getting, okay, from the way things are being done and all of the things, the zeitgeist of these times, is that there is the idea that we do not need millions and millions of people that we've needed before to serve the Borg. That with the advent of new technologies and AI, we will not need so many people in the labor force. And so the first thing we do is anyone that came here to do those jobs, okay, we don't need you anymore. You can go home now. And then the other day, someone in the Trump administration said, well, the federal workers can now go do the jobs that the immigrants had.
What?
Swallow. Okay. And so this is how the billionaire class thinks of us as little chess pieces and Monopoly pieces on a board to be moved around to fill in the blanks.
Yes, crazy.
Wow.
I do want to offer, and you just made me think about something. I had the pleasure of being a part of the acquisition when the Boeing company took over McDonnell Douglas. Okay, it was uncomfortable because we were passing out pink slips like they do when mergers happen, but Boeing did something real brilliant in that moment. Instead of just passing out pink slips, they said to those that we weren't going to need anymore, you have a couple of opportunities. You can, take your payout and we thank you for your service. You can B, we will pay for you to further your education in an area where we need people to, lead work or otherwise, right?
Uh-huh.
Or you can decide to do something altogether different, but we will support you. And because we're telling you up front, we are going to have these layoffs, and we're doing so now. They gave people, I think, like a 6-month, ahead of time. This is going to happen. We're going to have several opportunities for you to speak to professionals to help you make the right decision for your career. That was a moment for me.
Yeah.
And if we could just do business that way, right? Because then we could save ourselves all this stress, right? Say to people, yep, industry is changing. Nope, what you're doing right now, we're not going to continue to do. Here's where we're going. Let us help you make the right decision here to either do this or take your money and go. Your choice.
Well, right. I'm going to get through these. We got about 4 emails here, and I'm going to zoom right through them. Somebody's decided to call in at 10:59. Okay. All right. Surly's, one of you made a perfect comment on topic today. The game players on their fundamental dysfunction. We must keep our eyes on and take action and make public noise. Someone said about the comment that I made about why this is happening. The policy is designed to reduce long-term bond rates. Someone said that yesterday on my Facebook page. Someone else said, those Americans who are liking this roller coaster better buckle up because they are the same Americans who love Walmart and wait till China tariffs hit that rollback pricing. Jerome. And then someone else said they went to St. Louis for the first time last year for a work conference, and they were surprised at how quiet downtown is. There was a ghost town on the weekend, and I wondered if they were where the downtown workers are. Downtown's locked in the doom loop. I read about that when I was doing research for the show. I like the Arch Park and parks along Market and Pine Streets. Yeah, park down there. Try parking down there. All right. So, last words.
Frank just gave us the finger, so we are on our way out. Thank you so much, Danielle Whitmore, for joining us on the show today.
We'll have you back again.
Yes.
Thank you so much for having me.
I hope you had
enjoyed it.
fun.
Yes. All right.
And one day we will figure out how to make the guests hear the phone calls.
Yeah, we're going to get it.
Yeah. It's, keep working on it till you get it right. So,
Yeah, I do have Alvaro's contact, Maria. I'll give it to you.
all right. Thank you so much for listening to Surly Voices on WMNF Tampa 88.5. Please join us again next week.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
I like diamonds, I like stunning, I like shining.